You're listening to the Board Game Snobs podcast, a ridiculous podcast with ridiculous hosts that discuss ridiculous things. And any mention of board games is purely coincidental. And so, without further ado, and with a heavy dollop of shame and embarrassment on my part, I give you the Board Game Snobs.
Welcome.
No, you're supposed to say and go.
Oh, and go?
I'm the star.
Oh, you're going.
Say,
My bad.
say it.
And go.
And welcome to the Board Game Snobs podcast. This is Jerry again. I'm in the DJ spot again, once again, back by popular demand.
Popular
DJ, what must be my DJ name?
I don't know.
If you had a DJ name, what would it be?
DJ Jerk Jerry.
White Boy J?
What?
Huh?
White Boy J?
White Boy J.
I really like that.
Okay, Enrique, whenever you laugh loudly.
Laugh.
Yeah,
Laugh right into the microphone.
247 episodes in, we're still being trained on how to
I thought it was pretty
Use
Why
cool.
don't you be
microphones.
meta?
So when you laugh, you go, pull away!
White boy J don't pull
There you
away.
go.
White boy J don't pull away. Stay up on that mic. He
gets
said,
all up in
"Listen,
it.
listen here, family. Listen here. This is White Boy J, DJ White Boy
You
J.
can't be doing voices.
I can do
What's
voices.
listen here? White Boy J does not say, listen here.
He sound like he from Georgia.
You're okay. But to say
Like
that, you're making me
This
nervous
is
there
this
for a
is
second.
this is Benoit
You're
Blanc.
like, more, hey, listen here, guys. I'm White Boy J.
This is Detective.
Benoit Blanc with his indistinguishable voice, accent. Are you Louisianan? Are you Georgian?
Chad Chishon.
He's none of the above.
That's
he's
exactly how Chad sounded.
he's a horrific merge of the two.
I do say that this
I
sandwich
do declare.
is very spicy.
A foghorn leghorn, I say, boy.
This murder could have been committed by a man with 3 fingers.
3 fingers.
I have no idea.
What happened to his other 2?
He's obviously not a suspect.
2 fingers is how I like my scotch.
The digits are obviously not inclined
I like
to
the-
murder, because if you have 2 fingers, you are a man of peace.
Remember the day when you
Get it
say,
with
"Give me
peace?
your digits" to a gal,
I never said that.
and she like write her
They
phone number?
offered them.
Or they just gave
DJ
you, what if they
White
cut
Boy?
off their fingers and gave give me your digits? This isn't the menu.
What's on the menu?
I played a game that was absolutely a horrendous racing
Let's
game.
not talk about it, sir.
Hydro Racers, the Schneider Trophy Epic.
A water eraser?
Apparently it is
Racer.
It's hydro. They're the old timey airplanes with the little pontoons on their bottoms.
We used to use them when we go hunt for gators. That sound like forest there a little bit. I'm sorry, go ahead.
How many different types of shrimp meals can you make?
There's fried shrimp,
That's it.
shrimp gumbo,
Shrimp scampi,
shrimp scampi,
boiled shrimp,
red lobster,
fried shrimp.
shrimp a la
I'm not big on shrimp myself.
etouffee.
Shrimp etouffee. That's
I don't even know
probably
what
a
that
thing.
is. Chad's a song right now.
Shrimp gumbo. Did you say that?
His mouth is watering right now.
Let's circle back to shrimp scampi.
That's exactly how Chad sounded too. Wasn't that shocking to meet somebody from
I
Louisiana?
know he did not actually sound anything like
He sounded
a Louisiana.
exactly like it.
So anyway, in Hydro Racers, it says you keep adjusting the levels, but
Because you're talking a
I'm
lot.
telling you, it doesn't. When I level it out, it's not going to be. That's
I know.
Why, it's
Why are you
just-
being so meta? I'm cutting you down
Okay,
because you're
'cause
making a lot of noise.
I'm trying to train you from across the table.
You're sounding very angry.
You're being-
What button
you're-
turns down your anger? This red one?
No, you turned down my anger by stop being you.
DJ White Boy, he don't do no anger.
So from 19 1913 to 1931, the Schneider Trophy took place. And then all these four nations, England, Italy, France, United States, will compete. Blah, blah, blah. That's the setup for this game. This is the most basic card game, racing game. You set up your planes, you go around, you do one lap. As soon as you cross that one lap, you reset. You reset into the positions you were in as you cross that lap. To advance, you play cards with numbers on them. If you play a 3, you advance 3 spots. But it's got the same trope of, watch out for this curve. It's got a 3 on it. If you go beyond a 3 on your card play, if you play a 4, you get some sort of damage token. It is the most basic, boring racing game I've ever played. Hydro Racers. I watched a video on the actual board game itself. It looked pretty. They had like some mini planes on there. But it was awful.
I do declare, Francis.
And my phone died just now. So now I don't know what to say.
Our fan boat has been damaged.
Pretty much. So Hydro Racers, avoid it. You can play it on BGA. It's terrible.
This water vessel is not up to par. That's not the best Georgian accent I can do.
I don't know what you're on. This water vessel is not up to par.
That's how they sound.
This water vessel is not up to par.
That's if Christopher Walken was Georgian.
These Panzer, put them on one leg at a time.
Bring the Oldsmobile around.
More cowbell.
That would be a great idea for a movie. Yeah. So if you had a detective show
I made a sock puppet
where everybody just used that weird Georgian accent off that Glass Onion that old James Bond had. I do declare. He was murdered with a candlestick.
In a library.
And then, but everybody in the show has that accent except one person. Here's my idea. We have a movie where we're all detectives, like everybody, and we're trying to figure out a murder, but we are doing it in the most incompetent way, and we never figure out the murder. And even though the murderer is very, very obvious, we just don't get it. And the one person who speaks clear English, here's what we can do. We can cast ourselves, could have Dan and Mike, but the person who speaks clear English, we could get Ben Maddox, and we all act like we don't understand him. What kind of weird accent is this for?
What is this accent, son?
And just every murder you come across, it's very obvious who did it, but we just, at the end, we declare, this is obviously a suicide.
And literally every sentence we start with has to start with, I do declare. That would be awful. I do declare I have to use the bathroom now. I do declare, excuse me.
The toilet paper in this.
I do declare this toilet paper is quite thin. I broke it. I do declare it just broke through. Do the old finger sniff test.
So see, and how do you mark that you're going to delete something on this? I had a topic that I had in mind regarding expectations, which I think plays in very nicely to our previous podcast about Twilight Inscription, which I was not allowed to delve into because of naturally it would require definitions and a long explanation regarding such. So recently, which I will not get into the minutia of this, Gabi recommended a movie to me that was supposedly a comedy. It was not a comedy. It was very depressing. Depressing. And so...
But I did not tell you I thought it was hilarious. I just told you I thought it was good.
Either way, the idea behind the movie was that it was a comedy.
But it is, yeah.
It's built as a comedy.
It is presented as a comedy.
It was not a comedy. It is rather depressing. So needless to say, this show, which I was ready for a comedy, it did not present as such. It's still a good show. It just wasn't what I expected. And I'm sure that if I had prepped myself beforehand and thought this is a dramatic or more dour show, I would have enjoyed it, but I didn't. So this got me to thinking about board games and our expectations of them. For instance, such as a game like Twilight Inscription, which is just roll and ride. It doesn't give the same feeling as Twilight Imperium. If you prep yourself, do you feel like for a game, do you think that it makes the game more enjoyable if you know what you're getting into or if you're just pleasantly surprised? Enrique, I direct my attention and ire towards you. I do declare.
I feel like if you're hyping yourself up for a game that you expect to be this, it's just
Like Cyberpunk.
yeah. Like I've hyped up myself over Cyberpunk, and I enjoyed the game, even though the gameplay itself was not as expected as they showed. So, like for
Project
a board
Red.
game, you can hype yourself up to the point of where you just enjoy the game, even though you know the mechanics and everything else is just garbage.
Good point. I did the same with Scythe. And Gabi did as well. We both thought that the game was way better than what it really was. I enjoyed it because I got to paint it. The presentation, we were hyped for it. We enjoyed it the first time. Second time, we realized this is not that great.
It was okay.
So you can, because of your, what's the word? I won't say nostalgia. Your connection with something, which is obviously,
You have a high expectation, and it overshadows everything.
it's not just the expectation, it's the callbacks. It's the, what's the term? I'm fighting for it. But essentially, a lot of movies now use this, a lot of television series where they're referencing previous events. It's like what do they call them? Member berries. Like, oh, this is a thing. Look at this. Oh, this is funny. Oh, this is reminding you of this person at this time. And it drags you into this nostalgia, and you assume that because of that, it must be good. And so a lot of tropes there. A lot of movies do that nowadays, especially the remakes. So I think with a lot of these games, you can be overhyped for a game and like you're just destined to enjoy it. But either way, sometimes a game falls short of your expectations, and there's been some psychological studies done about this, where if you hype something up to somebody, you're basically guaranteeing that they're not going to have the same experience. If you walk into a movie theater and watch a movie that you have no idea what it's about, you're just there, which I highly suggest, because one time I did this. I had the distinct pleasure of, through this period of my life, just not having a television, just not watching any movie trailers, about not knowing exactly what was going on in the world of theater at the time. And just through happenstance, on a lazy Sunday afternoon, I walked into a movie theater with never seeing a trailer, not even knowing who was in it, not even knowing until I saw the poster that, hey, I'm going to go watch this movie. I walked into a movie theater and watched one Inception.
Well played.
Oh, and it blew me away because obviously I had no idea. I had no expectations, and I was treated to something that was quite phenomenal at that time. So at times, we've done the same with board games. It's a game we've heard about, or maybe we just casually know the name about it. We pick it up and we play it. I'm thinking of Barony off the top of my head because that was a game that I had always wanted to play just because I'd wrote it down, seen the name, saw the theme, and then one day we played it at BGG, and we absolutely loved it. We had no expectations. Had no idea what the game was about. So my thought process is that sometimes, because of the hotness, because of the hype, because of the name, because what you decide to expect from this game, it affects your perception of it. So rolling rights are a good analogy for this, because you obviously think this is going to be in the similar vein of the theme and a lighter version of it, and sometimes it does not present with the same mechanics or the same mechanisms, obviously because it's a roll and write, but the same feeling, which is what Twilight Inscription does. It's a completely different type of game. It's a completely different experience. It's not really even remotely similar to Twilight Imperium. Thus, it was a disappointment to us. Would this game have been different?
Well, that's why.
I can't hear you. You've done messed up your microphone.
This blue thing right there. In the
Why are you messing up stuff?
Plug in that blue one in the middle.
Oh, Gabi's over here doing weird stuff.
Let's see.
Try it again, because this thing was down. Yes, this is an on button here, this thing.
Oh, there you go.
See, I figure out stuff.
You turned him off.
No, this thing was down the entire time. Now speak.
Okay. Oh, now I can hear myself better. I thought I was low the whole time.
Okay, so now that you've been up messing around and not listening to anything I said,
No, I heard everything you said. And what you say is true up to a certain point. There are movies and games that I have had super high expectations for. The Batman, Avengers Endgame, etc. You go in really wanting to be blown away, and you are. There are games you go into really wanting to be blown away with. Brian Boru, Cryo are a couple that we had heard very good things about, and we enjoyed them tremendously.
correct?
Twilight Inscription was a rolling ride. I knew I was just expecting the theme to come through a little bit more, but I knew it was a rolling ride the whole time. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like the expectation affected it a whole lot, but I feel like it. I agree to an extent, because I believe that people, just like peer press, like, yeah, everybody's saying this is so good, it's so good, it's so good. But then you go into it and you're like, no, that wasn't that great. So your opinion of it may differ just because of what the perception of it is from other people, but you personally didn't enjoy it.
Mm. But you already expected that, because it was a rolling ride, you already had a set expectation of the game not being as portrayed by other people.
Well, I would say, you mentioned Scythe earlier. I would say that's the better point. Scythe, I really enjoyed initially because of just the whole shebang of it, the whole show, the whole bling of it. But repeated plays brought out, it's really not that great a game. It's just supposed to be a great game. Terraforming Mars, I remember our first play of that. It sold out. It was just an absolute phenomenon. Jerry hated it on first play. But then I see that goes to your point of you were expecting it to be great. So ultimately, I don't know. All I can tell you is some things live up to the hype, others don't. And I think that just goes into the quality. It's a game by game thing.
So what is hype?
Let me look at Oxford's definition.
So a lot of times, and this has frustrated me greatly.
Tapestry.
No. This has frustrated me greatly because, as you well know, I lock into definitions and algorithms.
You're a definition man.
And things that, to me, when we say the hype, a lot of times we have seen games purchased by us or brought to our attention, and Gabi has said, so-and-so likes this game, and it ends up not being that great. And I go, why did you buy it? And Gabi says, so-and-so liked it. That, to me, is not hype. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So having somebody recommend it is not hype.
No.
It being on the hotness on BGG is not necessarily, to me, even hype. It's when there is this overwhelming, just not only on social media,
cacophony.
But the mainstream reviewers, everybody is praising this game. It has to hit like a certain point to where I'm like, okay, this game is hyped. This game is obviously, when you plug into the mainstream of this area, which is board gaming, this is the game that you're going to hear a lot about. And there's been many games that I can think of that were hyped, that I was told, these are the games that you need to play. This is it. This is the epitome of this. And I've played them and been like, well, why would you play this when you can play that? This is not that great. Terraforming Mars, of course, comes to mind. Through the Ages, of course, comes through the mind. I don't think Through the Ages is a bad game by any means. I just think that it's killed by nations. But there's various other games that are like that. And so I think what ends up happening is that people are plugged into one little area and they go, this is where I'm getting my information. They're saying this is good. That is the hype. If you didn't listen to any other board game podcast, if you just listened to us, Barony is the hype.
Yeah.
Brass is the hype. Lorenzo is the hype.
We can personally hype a game,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that game has received a lot of hype.
Correct. So, this idea that
Wish my phone worked. I need a definition of hype.
Enrique could do that, but he's too lazy.
He's just sitting there looking at us. Look up hype. What does it mean?
It's very
dare you.
obvious that if you were paying attention, you would have been looking up the hype. I glanced over at you and I looked at you.
Oh no, I did.
You did? What is it?
It was. Hold up.
Good man.
Yeah, like as soon as you said
pulled
that, I
through.
looked up.
I thought that you
hype.
were a loser for a long time.
He had low
Let's see.
expectations of you. Now he's impressed.
I do it, Claire.
It's mainly, let's see, the noun of it would be
Nothing.
extravagant or intensive.
Intensive, yes.
Intensive.
Intensive
Yeah,
care.
Let me read
It
it.
needs
You read that
intensive
because
care.
I can't
ICU.
say.
Intensive
He can't either.
publicity,
Yeah.
Intensive publicity. That's a good term. So there are certain,
or often exaggerating its benefits or importance.
Yes.
and I would say there are certain companies.
Isn't that interesting?
What?
Exaggerating its importance is the secondary definition of high.
I wouldn't say, but when it comes to board games, there's
I'm not giving your phone back.
there's nothing that's.
Why is there so much? Why do you have TikTok?
Don't worry about that.
Stop looking through his stuff. Give him his phone back. That's an
What's with
invasion of
all
privacy.
this anime?
I hope my first podcast I came through louder than because now I can really hear myself as I hear y'all. But man, I had a hard time.
You're just very loud in general. You have a very big
because
diaphragm.
you muted me. You muted me on the
You have
last
very
one.
big lungs.
I do have firm, sturdy, enlarged, engorged lungs.
No, you don't.
I practice breathing every day.
You breathe. You're a mouth breather. I don't think people know that.
I'm not. See, you're always trying to put me down. You've said that several times. I'm not a mouth breather.
I'm gonna have to watch
When
that.
I chew gum, I chew with my mouth closed, unlike you do.
I don't chew. I chew gum to smack because I like to smack when I chew gum.
That's not annoying.
Because I want people to know I'm in charge.
Yeah, why get gum if you
Yeah,
can't
right.
snap?
Because I'm sick.
Yeah.
I'm a Sigma.
I do declare this gum is quite tasty.
I'm a Sigma male. I do love. I
There's a
love
big
the-
red juicy fruit does get me going.
I do enjoy the big chew.
I do declare. Hubba bubba. Bubble gum is bubble yum.
I like how we go.
Golf Cool Hand Luke. That sounds just like the Golf Cool Hand. You remember Cool Hand Luke?
I've seen it one time, and I know that you believe it is a perfect movie.
It's just about. Well,
Even though it's about Jesus.
it is about Jesus. I told
Jesus
you.
ate a bunch of eggs.
Yes, it is about Jesus.
That's where the Easter bunny comes from. He eats all them eggs, now everybody paints them.
I know I'm drinking tequila right now, but you might have just blown my mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Enrique, you seem like
Enrique was saying something.
you had a very clear point there. So whenever we hype something up, like
What? Like, look. I'm raising my hands towards the roof.
with the palms upward,
Hype, my palms upward. I'm hyping you up. Enrique.
that's part of the problem when you have to have a podcast and you have to describe.
Lil Jon. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, DJ Khaled.
My poor
He hypes
Jay.
himself up.
You just name all the overhyped people.
We should hype ourselves up. Board game snobs. What?
No, I don't
That's
think
what
that.
we do. We should start every podcast.
Maybe
Board game snobs.
maybe if we do that
What?
offset, then yeah, it'd be effective.
That's what we do.
Why do we come up? Who comes up with this stuff?
With what?
With all these weird noises and the idea, like
Who
No,
knows?
that's hype. It's
It
hype.
says it's the internet, man. It's
Culture? Pop culture.
I'm glad I was about to attack you. I really was, because pop culture and culture are two different things.
well, yeah. I would hope so.
I'm sure Denva would agree.
Who? Denver?
Denva, she's been in Italy for like 3 months or something.
Either way, culture, pop culture. I have no respect for pop culture. You have a podcast.
My other podcast is waiting. This is a good time to hype it up. Disagreeable Nerd is coming back in another form of movie worm. Look for that.
which I made you.
Coming
my
soon.
daughter made you a icon, a
Logo?
logo. She
Okay,
did,
well,
and it's actually really good.
You have yet to show me anything, even though you keep declaring. I do declare. I've got some logos for you, and you never show me anything.
So are you now? Wait a minute. You're doing another movie podcast.
We're going to come back with another movie show.
Now, why are you stopping
Movie show?
Disagreeable Nerd?
Because Disagreeable Nerd, here we go on super double reverse meta. I was the titular disagreeable nerd.
I wouldn't say that. I listened to your show, and I wouldn't say you were titular.
I was the disagreeable nerd because it started off with the show. Generally, me and whoever I was talking to disagreed on what we were saying.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Boy, that was super meta.
Or people could disagree with my opinions.
I disagreed with all your opinions.
Okay, there you go. So I was basically a disagreeable, grumpy man and had opinions on these movies.
But you didn't ever invite me on the show.
I invited you several times. You came on a couple times.
And I was awesome. The highest
there you
ones.
go.
Yeah.
Look at you. Jerry Baker. What? Meh, meh, meh. Look at that. That's what you hear in your head all the time, isn't it?
I do. So I'm just saying. Pretty good.
So we're starting a new podcast, which includes the title, a movie worm, much like a bookworm. But I'm not into books. I'm into movies. So I'm a movie worm. But not just me. It's me, Sharday, and Deej, and whoever else wants to join the show.
Why can't I be on a movie nerd?
So how long? You can. You're welcome to come.
You literally told me like 30 minutes ago I couldn't be. I asked. You told me I had to leave.
You're straight up.
You said I had to leave.
You're lying.
Enrique backed me up. He told us, but at 6 o'clock you have to leave.
No, you don't have to leave.
You just can't stay here.
You just can't stay. It's
That's
2
what you
o'clock.
said.
Well, yeah,
What time is it?
It's 6 o'clock. It's
Not
6:04.
Not the time. How long has this episode
It's
gone
been
on?
going on for 31 minutes.
That's
and
a
4
good time.
seconds.
That's a good time.
This is, but I'm not ready to end it. I'm
That's
the
a
host.
classic BGS episode. 30 minutes.
But you shamed me.
I'm not sure.
You said I didn't have any topics, and I had so.
We discussed expectations versus reality.
What show are you going to talk about on Movie Worms?
Avatar, Way of the Water, which you have not watched.
But I have thoughts on it, despite that.
Okay,
so
you're
we
gonna
can
rate it a
record that.
1
We can
on
record
BGG?
that. So let's just stop this. We're going to stop this podcast.
Okay. Movie Worm will not come out for probably a month or so because it needs still some work, and I got to find a publishing host, et cetera, et cetera.
Maybe I'll be on this episode of Movie Worms.
If you want to be, you're more than welcome
well, then I'm
to discuss a movie you have not seen.
I do.
But you can't talk about James Cameron.
I can talk a whole lot about James Cameron.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode
This is
of
going
Board
to do
Game
it for
Snobs.
this episode at Board Game Snobs. This is DJ Whiteboy J.
This is your Chilean Gavi.
And this is your half Mexican, half white.
Are you?
More or less. Well,
You're
more
just-
white.
Which is more? Which is less?
Probably the Mexican part and more white.
You're more white than Mexican?
Yeah.
But your dad's full-blown Mexican.
Yeah, which is super weird, right?
That's literally not possible.
Yeah, I know. But yet I'm more white. I'm more my mother's white.
Okay.
Do you?
That's going to do it.
You identify
End the show. End the show.
No wait. What?
We got to end the show.
End it.
He didn't sign off.
Movie Worm is calling.
Oh yeah, I didn't sign up. This is
Thank you for tolerating this episode of the Board Game Snobs. Stay classy.